Originally, Victor Hugo did not know how to draw sea. Also, his first trips with Juliet from 1834 to 1836 took him several times to the seaside. The sketches, which is covered his notebook with, ignore the sea superbly. It is true that the writer gave as a pretext to this escapade the need for documentation, for a novel to be written, which he will never write, the subject of which should have been the castle after the cathedral for Notre-Dame de Paris. And he is more interested in architecture, and when he's at the edge of the ocean, it is natural architecture, if we can say, that he looked at. For instance, the dolmen of Carnac, he wrote Carnac with a K, not me, but Victor Hugo, in Brittany, when the sea is normally at the horizon of this dolmen. Whether the cliffs of Etretat, where he just draws a cliff and not really the sea, or those of Fécamp, also, is always attracted to design the minerality of the landscape and not the waves. This may seem all more surprising since a traveler with a family father, seems very enthusiastic to going to the sea. In a letter to Leopoldine, a letter to his wife, he said to Leopoldine that tomorrow I will see the sea. It seems very exciting. And also he wrote very important letters or texts regarding the oceans. But a few drawings. Whenever in the same pages of the sketchbook, he may wrote some notes on the ocean, and specifically focusing on the waves on the stone at the seashore. In 1837, when he returned from Belgium along the Côte d'Opale in the north of France, the sea became a little more present, but not really for its own sake. It is rather the theme of the bank, of the shore, which seems to be his main as subject. And this theme of the bank is very common in Victor Hugo's drawing at that time, and even before. The drawing from Étaples, for instance, is an in-between, because it is in fact an estuary, which is half a river and half the sea with the tide, which is sensitive to. Unrad is more a seascape with boats. That's good. Oh, sorry. In 1843, during his trip to Spanish Basque country, Hugo and Juliet stayed in Passares, on the stretch of sea that separate the small town from San Sebastian. Here again, the sea is equivalent to a river, but as in 1837 drawings that we have seen, what makes the sea or signify it are the boats. We could find another example in drawings, which is undoubtedly one of the very first appearance of a true seascape. In the graphic production of Victor Hugo, in Mare Malus's coast, with the Latin title, "At the sea, the mast make a cross." And thanks to a letter from Juliette Drouet, who gently makes fun of it, we can date it from May 1847. And this drawing is interesting, first of all, because of this date. Because 47 is, in my opinion, the decisive years in which Victor Hugo reached his full maturity and identity as a draughtsman. He implements techniques that allow him to... Where is my picture? He implements a technique that allows him to render the poetic or dramatic feeling that he wants to express. Furthermore, drawing become a mental things, which refer to memory or imagination rather than a motive, and the drawings become, in a way, the equivalent of a poem. By the way, this is the subject I'll treat in my text for the catalogue of the exhibition at the Royal Academy next year. That is, Sarah is preparing. And so I don't tell more about that year. You will have to read the catalogue and to see the exhibition. That will be an occasion to have a weekend in London. This is a case here, a new technique which covers the entire sheet with a mixture of charcoal and ink, and a subject which does not require immediate observation. We can also wonder that the subject of the drawing, we can also wonder what the subject of the drawing really is. The sea is melted into the wash. We cover all the surfaces, mixed with the sky. The rock at the left defines quite a bank also, which could be easily seen as a river bank. Once again, it is a boat that makes the sea here. But here, it is also the Latin inscription, which is perhaps the real motive of the drawings. We know that from the poet Théophile Gautier that Victor Hugo apartment, Rue de la Tour d'Auvergne, was decorated with several drawings with such inscription. We have the impression that Hugo is trying to experiment, to work, to perfect the literary or poetic aspect of his drawing. One might expect that the period of exile of Guernsey brought Hugo back to the seaside and make him live on the beach at Marine Terrace will give rise to marine drawing. But it seems that it was rather the atmosphere and the sky that caught Victor Hugo's attention. In the Cavalier view of Marine Terrace that you see here, the sea is only a reflection of the radiant sky, so characteristic of the Guernsey period. Maybe this is the beginning of this sexual affair between the sea and sky Bradley talked about yesterday. In Souvenir d'Anvers, which evokes his departure from Belgium to reach Guernsey, the sea only occupies the lower part of the drawing, as always flat and calm. Also, the sea brings the light. All the attention is focused on the silhouette of the city and the radiant sky here. In Port de la Manche, which is also a memory of the trip of 36 with where the painter Célestin Nanteuil, whom the drawing is addressed, accompanied the lovers, the sea is only suggested once again by the boats. Finally, what is catching Hugo's attention, his uncertain light and the atmosphere shrouded in humidity. The more imaginary than real view of the Roselle Dolmen, now under the title of La Bouche d'Ombre after the poem, which is a continuation of the spiritualist episode in Guernsey, makes in the place of the revelation, which makes the place of the revelation of the afterlife, offers us what we didn't have in Karnak. We have a dolmen, but with the sea filling the horizon. The treatment is more thorough than usual. It rises into the horizon and gains autonomy. Even it remains dependent on boats. But above all, in this drawing, we see the appearance of a technique which, also simple, will play an important role in the representation of the sea. This is the use of the barb of the pen, which Hugo already used, but which now takes more importance. On those pens which are used to write Les Misérables, we see how the feathers were then usually prepared. The web was cut very close to the spine and such as to have a short beard. These are what Victor Hugo used to rub the ink on the sheet and obtain an effect, as you have two examples on the bottom. It seems that drawing always evolved for Victor Hugo by a double push under the combined effect of a new crystallization of the imagination and a new technique of the use of a technique, allowing him to translate the crystallization. It is really with the arrival in Guernsey and the ocean takes off, if we can say, in the graphic work of Victor Hugo. It is at this moment that we observe this new crystallization of the imagination with the ship delivered to the waves and which becomes the image of destiny. We find the first version with this drawing with the effect titled Disabled Ship in the Storm, but it's accompanied by an inscription to Paul Maurice, which provides the key of the. In fact, it is talking of destiny. We can wonder if this vision of his destiny was not suggested to Victor Hugo by the crossing from Jersey to Guernsey following his expulsion, as he noted in his diary. He insists, heavy seas, rain, gust, Jersey rock, then cloud, then shadow, then nothing, difficult approach, huge waves. It's an hard way to a new step of the exile, and so the comparison with his destiny. Of course, the most famous version is this one in the following year, best with the exact mention of my destiny, where the dramatic effect is accentuated by a disproportionate waves which lift the ship with which a small disappears between the shadow and the effect of foam created by white spit gouache, and process that will be willing that he willingly use in shipwreck scene. With his curved shape, as it's twisted, the ship follows the destructive ways. Here Hugo returns a very graphic treatment, drawing the wave with lines and in scratch writing, as if it has to signify its violence. Let us also note that this association of the sea and destiny is quite ancient. We find it expressed in the travel diary of 1835. This is a quotation I put on. The idea has to wait for more than 20 years to be expressible graphically. We often observe in Hugo the permanence of ideas and their resurgences at long intervals in different forms or techniques. The same theme reactivated by the treatment that Victor Hugo seemed the theme seemed reactivated by the steamers that Victor Hugo sees in the port of St. Peter, or that he was able to take to travel. That is why I put images of Venus, a ship from Guernsey, and drawing a trammer à vapeur really looks like the Venus. But another point of crystallization of his imagination present in his drawing is the storm and shipwreck. Storm and shipwrecks are cliché of the Romanticism. But for Hugo, the Channel Islands have made this cliché a thing scene, a known thing, a very real thing. News that he notes in his diaries, even if he also gives them a literary existence. So it is with this meeting at the sea, when he returned from his summer travel in October 26, 1864, which corresponds to a note in his diary, when he's traveling on the Aquila. That is a boat I represent. And they cross a destroyed ship with everyone has disappeared, as he noted in his diary. Despite the appearance, it's not certain that it is a real thing for this worried woman waiting for her husband returning to port in St. Sampson. Because at this date, December 29, 64, there's no note in Victor Hugo's diary, but we have a letter by Juliette, which I will not reproach his author in any way, while we each retain our regrets for this beautiful opportunity for a walk missed or a very beautiful day. What seemed to tell us that everyone stay at home and that the weather was nice and not this weather that we see. So this is maybe only an imaginary drawing by Victor Hugo. We just note this is the contrast of the treatment with the very graphic quay and the wash, which is mixing, as always, the sea and the sky. Maybe it's more a true vision with this drawing, noted seen from my lookout, Hauteville House, on January 13, 65. Whenever we don't have a note in his diary. And obviously, it's not the angle of view that you can have from the lookout in Hauteville House. So it is a recomposition, obviously. Mainly, if we compare with an older drawing made in Jersey, these images on the right, where we saw some ships in perdition. It was in September 54, and the rain and storm. and you know that the technique is very different. It's a very fast slavish on the right, which is really a notation, like you write a note in your diary. It is not the elaborate drawings that you have on the left. The ship, isolated on the sea, become a symbol of destiny. It's also a symbol of exile, as we see in this drawing offered to Paul Morris. It is the one on the left, to be inserted as a frontispiece for his copy of Contemplation. It is a quasi-identical identification of exile and destiny. The cheap destiny will become, by excellence, La Durande that we have on the right, which is inserted in a copy of The Toilers of the Sea. And The Toilers of the Sea is a book of destiny, from the bad tricks that the destiny plays to Clubin by misguiding him into the fog and throwing him into the tentacles of the octopus, to Gilliatt in his failure in love despite his Promethean struggle against destiny, linked to the unleashed element. As we have already seen in the drawing of 37 and 43, it is a boat that makes the sea. But this time, when isolated in the open sea, it takes on its autonomy, becomes a central element, equal with the ocean, in struggle with it. This is because in The Toilers of the Sea, the action will revolve around the shipwreck and the rescue of the Durande, or at least his machinery. It is a struggle between water and steam that Hugo depicts. No doubt he's fascinated by the steamers that he's seeing. And it is one of the very rare motifs of modernity in Victor Hugo's drawings. It was a contemporary motif in Victor Hugo's drawing, in fact. Here with a drawing avant trop court, top is too short, which points an error in his own drawing. It is the same workmanship that we observe in the drawing from Guernsey, which corresponds to a visual study, while the drawing on the manuscript transfers an elaboration and a staging despite his sketch appearance, if we compare with the one on the right. Hugo established a dramatic but balanced relationship between the ship and the elements. Drawing from the manuscript, they are quoted BNF and for National Library in France. This drawing of the manuscript on the left has been read as a ship in the fog. Yes, which also it is a sailboat, referred to the sinking of the Durande. The drawing of Victor Hugo house on the right could more accurately pass for an illustration of the Durande running to his doom in the mist. It is important to point out that Hugo revolves around its object with multiple variations and works in a serial manner. Around Toilers of the Sea gravitates a whole group of drawings whose relationship with the novel are diverse. Sketches appearing on his first notes, probably notes for the problem, sometimes very old, I think there is a problem. Yes, that was a good slide, sorry. probably not for the novel from the very first genesis of the actual writing, or drawing that the subject is iconographically obvious and specified by the inscription links to the novel. The drawing that Victor Hugo inserted in his manuscript. Other drawings that could be called floating, remaining outside of the manuscript or without title, indicated, but whose iconography could relate to the novel. Finally, marine drawings not necessarily offering an explicit link with the novel, but which must nevertheless be mentioned because some will be integrated undoubtedly by Paul Maurice in the album Méole, Dessins de Victor Hugo, The Toilers of the Sea, with this mention in his notice. The other marines of Victor Hugo had the sketch for which the ocean, the friend of his exile, posed 18 years in front of him. In terms of drawing, Hugo does not oblige itself to any rigor or rigidity, because in the last two categories, we have drawings in the manuscript or shipwork, for example, which do not correspond to the text of the and are independent sheet, drawing which can very well relate it to the novel. In this category, we have two leaves here, which correspond. On the left, one would belong to the, which were stuffed in Victor Hugo's copy of the original edition of the Toilers of the Sea, but would belong to the bibliophile Léon Barthou, and he bent in the manuscript this drawing, which is a description of the Saint-Ouen Bay in Guernsey with a rock description, which seems to fascinate Victor Hugo, and maybe is a first idea for the Rocher d'Ouvre, which we have, and it is certainly one of the first visualization by Victor Hugo of the Douvre Reef in this copo of snots, which, as the inscription Clubin could not dupe. It was indeed the Dover rocks, which sounds like a statement of inevitability. In the same copy was bound this astonishing drawing and mysterious, which has been read in different ways. First, people saw a sea monster, but we rather see now a seascape with a rock. Could be an elementary vision also of the Rocher d'Ouvre. Shipwork is a term that, as we said, has long fascinated Victor Hugo. It belonged to the Romantic repertoire, both in poetry and painting. And it is subject of several poems by Victor Hugo in the 40s, such as Océano Nox or in Les Rayons et les Ombres. But in punishment, Châtiment, which is written in Jersey, and specifically the poem 9 of Book 7, dated Jersey, April 1853. It translates a more internalized vision and more personal experience of shipwrecks, insert dialogues, and an apostrophe to God, during all the very long texts that I quoted here. And this is also an experiment of experimental poetry, because Victor Hugo's text is translated by Google Trad. In the manuscript, we found this drawing on left, to which was given the title Shipwreck, or more cautiously, three mast. It has been proposed to see there because of its place in his manuscript. The three-mast Tamaulipas, which carry around 10 away. The relation with the text remains tenuous. It is interesting to compare it to another drawing in the manuscript on the right of a dismantled ship lifted by dark waves. Here too, there is no direct relationship with the text. From one drawing to another, Hugo seems to explore all the variation of shipwreck in different phases. Once again, his graphic work progresses in serial way according to variation of theme. This drawing from the Maison de Victor Hugo, simply titled Marines, gives us an example of such variation of the same shipwreck. Example of Victor Hugo's rehashing in his drawing, as if he was trying to exhaust all the possibility of an image that obsesses his imagination. Vision Boat is also a perfect example of the non-explicit relationship between certain drawings in the manuscript and the text. This ship sinking in the storm hardly corresponds to the text of the novel. It was considered as the Durand crew being saved by the Kashmir. However, this boat do not appear to be a rowboat on which the crew is refuged. It has also been considered as a variant of My Destiny, after the connection that made some Hugolian, Roger Parrot, and also Pierre Georgel, with the prologue of the novel, which insists on a triple ananke destiny, wait on us. The ananke of dogmas, the ananke of laws, the ananke of things. In Notre-Dame de Paris, the author denounced the first. In Les Misérables, he pointed out the second. In this book, he indicated the third. In his manuscript, he placed a drawing, the cormorant, also called seagull flying over the sea. Seagulls are very present on the Dover rocks near Gilliatt. But when he resumed and completed Les Misérables, Victor Hugo added in the first part the new passage that Fiona told just before, the wave and the shadow. And he makes the ship works of a social metaphor. And a sentence of the text, there are birds in the clouds, just as these are angels above human distress. And maybe we can make a relation between this idea and this drawing, these two drawings. One was in the manuscript, and on the right, the small one was offered by Victor Hugo to François Chifflat in 1868, the drawer who made the first illustration of the Toilers of the Sea. The Man Who Loaf, however, opening with the long and remarkable story of the sinking of the Comprache coast, presents a paradoxical case of relation between text and drawing. In chapter 11, book 2 of the first part, Les Casquets, Hugo makes an introductory digression comparing the lighthouse of the 19th century, that of the 17th century, and the more primitive type, which is that of the Casquet, as he imagined it, not as he is in real. He didn't see it at the time. The architectural consideration are minor in the economy of the novel, and in any case, as far as the Eddystone Lighthouse is concerned. Paradoxically, they provide the pretext of 3 major drawings by Victor Hugo. In fact, this text, which has not real great importance in the novel, give us 3 major drawings by the size and by their importance as masterworks. Both it seems of the quality and the size, 2 of which are kept in the Maison de Victor Hugo. The third one is a private collection. The traditional relationship of the illustration is reversed. Here again, it is therefore a point of crystallization of the imagination of the poet, designer, who demands or requires to be explored through drawing. Furthermore, the sea itself occupies only a minimal part of the representation, partly at the base of the or on either side of the lighthouse, hastily brushed by the beard of the pen. It brings just the elements of meaning which isolated the architecture, which signifies destiny. Hugo indeed concludes the description of Les Casquets Lighthouse with a formula that was quite clever. He is the candle of the tomb, and he reversed the meaning of the lighthouse, which, instead of avoiding danger and saving you, announced to you the place where you will perish. It is still and always the obsession with shipwreck as a sign of destiny. The hypothesis on which I'm more and more working when I speak of 1847 as decisive years for Victor Hugo's drawing is that at the time I think that quite every creation for Victor Hugo is done after the model of contemplation, what he calls the memory of a soul. All the impression, all the memories, all the realities, all the vague phantoms, smiling or solemn, that the conscience can retain. All that is stored in Victor Hugo's soul, and from which he will draw what he will work out, or writing, or by drawing, or both. It is indeed the case with the few themes of drawing to the sea that we explored. But it's true that after this 2 major drawings related to the Man Who Loaf, he has told all what he has to tell with the drawing regarding the ocean. And we will not find any more major drawing in Victor Hugo's creation on the ocean after this this final drawing. Thank you for your attention.